And welcome everyone again to another episode of Caffeinated Jiu Jitsu. For those of you who are listening for the first time, I am your host, Joe Moats, and I'm super excited for today's episode. And the reason for that is because we're talking about a topic, my guest and I, that I don't think a lot of podcasts in the Jiu Jitsu space talk about. And that is how to grow your academy in your school, some best practices on how to do that, and even some tools that you can use to do that. My guest today is Michael Spyrou.
Spyrou, but close
Spyrou,
enough.
see, I told you, dude.
So
I told you I was going to mess that up.
It's all
and
right.
It was like 3 seconds ago.
It's okay.
Michael's a leading authority on automated growth systems. And I couldn't think of a better person to have on to talk about this topic. And these growth systems are specific for martial arts school. He's helped dozens of schools already across the U.S. increase their yearly revenue using his Pack the Mat system. And I'm excited to learn more about that. Michael, you and I have connected early on to talk about this, and I've got the pleasure to go through a demo. But Michael, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, Joe, for having me. I'm glad we finally got to do this. I know it's been a long time coming, but I'm really happy to be on the show.
I'm excited, man. And now you're a brown belt, right?
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure I didn't miss any promotions that may have come up since we started talking.
I
know we've been talking for a while, man.
No, you're good.
Yeah, usually when I talk to some of my friends who are brown belts, or I haven't talked to them in a while, like it'll be a few months, and then all of a sudden, I got my black belt. I'm like, what? What I missed, man? That's crazy.
That's funny. No, I think I still got some time, so we're good on that.
Awesome. Well, excited to have the conversation today. But let's start kind of with your origin story, man. I was excited, when we connected, we shared a little bit of each other's, but for the listeners, how did you first come into jiu-jitsu, and are there other martial arts that you do? Just kind of, share with us that.
Yeah, so I always grew up playing team sports. I had never really done anything like wrestling or jiu-jitsu. I did a little bit, I should say, wrestling in like middle school, but there wasn't much love for it. And like I said, everything else was very team-focused sports. And I started training jiu-jitsu in 2016. So I was like a senior in high school, 17 years old, going on 18. And it was actually my dad who brought me into the room because he had been training. He had his black belt in judo a long time ago. And at this point in his jiu-jitsu career, I think he was a purple belt. And he's been trying to get me and my brother down for years and years. And then, he had my brother come in like maybe 8 months before I started. And then he finally got me on the mats. And when I came down to the gym, it was like a Sunday morning, no-gi. So I didn't know anybody's ranks. I didn't know anything, any expectations were out the window. I had nothing planned in my head. It was just, let's see what this is about. So my first round was with my dad, and he just kind of spent it explaining some things to me, let me do the whole, white belt thing. At the end of 5 minutes, the first round ends, and he points to this guy on the mat, and he says, you should go roll with him. He's pretty good. And I look over at this guy, and he's this older gentleman. He's got a knee brace on. He doesn't have hair, the salt pepper goatee, just shorts and a t-shirt. And I'm thinking, man, I'm going to smoke this guy. I really thought I was going to dismantle this guy in every sense of the word. And as I'm walking over, I introduced myself, and he's like, oh, you're Alex's kid. It's so nice to meet you. He's just so polite and welcoming. And I had another thought, and I was like, well, maybe I'll take it easy on this guy at first because he's pretty nice. I don't want to hurt his feelings. But that was as far from the truth as I could have been, because when that round starts, he probably subbed me 3 to 4 times a minute for that 5-minute round. And he was barely moving too. It was so wild to me how I would just go across the mat or hit my back hard and get armbarred or something. I had no idea what was happening. And at the end of that round, that's when I remember sitting there thinking all right, I guess there's something to this. I can't really go home and say I got beat up by an old man and not come back. So that's kind of the story from there. I started and never stopped.
Yeah, it's man, there's so many of us that have those humbling stories, right? And I started later. Man, it would have been really cool if I was able to start in my late teens, early 20s because I felt like I was in pretty good shape. I was in the
Mhm.
military, I was a paratrooper. I looked like I was in shape at least. But yeah, it's crazy. I I see people like that even now, several years into my journey, I'm thinking, okay, it's gonna be an okay, like, when I go visit somewhere, I'm like, "Yeah, they're a purple belt, but, they got some age on them. This should be a pretty even keel match."
Yeah, right.
No.
Like, trying to
No.
match it up in your head with that MMA
Yeah,
math,
yeah.
you know?
And it's not. It never is. So, no, thanks for sharing that. And Michael, you're located where? You're training in,
Out of Freedom
gosh,
Jiu-Jitsu, Long
yeah,
Island, New York.
yeah, Long Island, that's right.
Mhm.
I wanted to say Manhattan for some reason, but,
No,
how
thankfully
long have
not.
you been training there? Is that where you started?
So I started at this gym called Vamos, and the owner of Freedom, Steve Kalushin, was a brown belt at the time. He got his black belt, I think, maybe 6 months after I started. And then 2018, he started his own gym, Freedom, and that's when I went with him. So I've been under him since the start. He's known me since my teen years. But I haven't really been anywhere else. So I guess that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, no, it's great. I'm full circle back to where I started, and it's a good feeling, kinda like to have that home
Yeah.
kind of, gym. I do not wanna move again. I've had to move twice now because of work or what have you. But no,
Hmm.
so much what we're gonna talk about today is if we have a core theme, it's like problem solving. Uh, Before we get into problem solving for academies and things like that, what has jujitsu taught you about problem solving?
I can't
Like,
take
kinda the
credit
way
for
you
this.
think.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, I can't take credit for this quote. It was a friend of mine who said it, but he said, jujitsu is the best tool for self improvement, and I really love that because I remember having that experience the first time on the mat, right? And when I look back on it and I think about my own jujitsu journey, and how it helped shape me into this person I am today, and really, it's a it kind of is my life. I train every day. I coached at Freedom now, and it's how I make my living. I can't get away from it. So, but when I look back and think about all that, and I think about what jujitsu is for me, it's a process that drives results, right? And if you want real growth, you need a real process. So for me, the growth that I wanted was internal. I didn't really know that at 17, but through the years, as I've experienced the magical effects of jujitsu, right, more confidence and just the way you approach life and look at things and dissect things. I recognize that the jiu-jitsu was the process for, my becoming. And, that's just kind of how I approach all my, like every aspect of life now. There's so many parallels to it.
Yeah. Yeah, getting us into kind of some of the topics here. What what do you think gym owners, maybe misunderstand the most when they're starting a academy, right? Because look, I'm just a blue belt. I've only been doing this for like
Yeah.
3 or 4 years, right? I don't know some of the high level belt stresses that people go through, but I would imagine that there's some things that people underestimate when they're passionate about starting a gym, which most people are,
Mhm.
but have zero business knowledge or sense.
Yeah. I think, in today's day and age that the barrier to entry is I guess I don't want to say low as in a bad thing, but I mean, on Long Island, there's so many schools. Like, there's like, I'm not even kidding. There's like three other schools on the same road as us here. And it's a really growing sport, which is awesome. But I think people think that because they're starting it, like, they're maybe have like a misconception of how big their name is going to carry weight in the community. And like the truth is, like, unless you're like some world class competitor that actually has a name is going to pull people from other gyms, any hobbyist looking to start doesn't know you, and that it doesn't really mean anything to them. So, it's you need to really have at the core thing is a really good culture. Because at the end of the day, that's what everybody is gonna connect to. It doesn't matter, you know, your philosophy on teaching or how you teach. It's, do you like the people you're in the room with, and do you like training with them? And as long as you can build that, you're gonna have a successful business. But I think a lot of people get into it thinking like, oh, I'm going to teach in like the new ecological way, or I won all my local tournaments. So now like I have this name and I could go out and start a school. And it's like, it's not really the case. There's a lot of schools out there. You really need to give somebody a community to connect to if you want to be successful long term in this industry, I think.
Yeah, I don't think it's like Field of Dreams, right? Build it and they will come. It's not like that. I mean,
Yeah.
jujitsu is growing and it's hot. It's
Mhm.
sexy. It's awesome.
It is.
And there is an aspect of just opening doors and you'll get some members, but not
Sure.
probably not to the tune of you're going to pay all your bills and have a profit,
Yeah,
right? By just so I mean, there's going to have to be work, right?
absolutely.
Um, So you have Lean Six Sigma background, right? You have
Correct.
supply chain
Mhm.
and process improvement, and for those listeners who may not know what that is, it's at least from my understanding, it's all about step by step improving processes through the Lean Six Sigma
Yes.
model or what have you. But question is, having actual education and certifications, does that help you kind of better diagnose, you think, gym problems, and also even in building the pack the mat system, which we'll talk about a little bit later as well?
Yeah, I think it really helped. A lot of it came into play when I was building the actual system itself, especially the lean part. So your definition was correct. I'm just going to expand on it now. So
Yeah, please do, because
yeah,
I
no,
don't have one.
yeah, you're good. You're good. So Six Sigma is referring to like a bell curve. So it really came about in Toyota in their car production, like back in when they start, like the 50s, right after World War II. And it's why they're actually such a great, reliable car company, because when you look at a bell curve, right, the center is your average, and then you go out one standard deviation, two, three, four. So Toyota is going out six standard deviations in terms of their part failure. So that's like a 99.99 repeating, condition. That's why nothing ever breaks on their cars. So that's more like, engineering. The lean part is getting rid of waste and making things as efficient as possible. So when you put those two things together, it's really good for any kind of production business. But the lean philosophy can really apply to gym philosophy as well in terms of gym growth. And it really gets into it and involved when you look at the internal process and how do you eliminate waste internally. And because ultimately, our goal is to create a lead or generate a lead and then take them from that lead position onto the mats and sign them up. So, how do you do that in the least amount of steps? And how do you do that in a way that feels really good for them? And that's always the question, right? So, that's where that kind of philosophy came in when I was building out my own system.
Yeah, thanks for expanding on that. And I think about even in recruiting, like the more steps you add in the process,
Hmm.
the least likely you have to get that candidate across the finish line.
Right.
Honestly, I mean, I've been job interviewing, and some of these things are six interview steps, and I'm like, no,
It's
no, thank
crazy,
you,
man. It's so
no,
crazy.
thank you.
I
It's
just
not.
saw something on Twitter about that. Like some candidate lost interest after their fifth interview step. And it's like, I don't blame them. Like, who's got time for that?
Like, it's hard when you're going through, like, job search as a recruiter, like, this is my profession, and now I have to, like, navigate the candidate side, and you just see all of that waste and stuff that you're talking
Yeah,
about.
it's crazy.
I mean, if you can't determine in, like, a couple conversations that this might be the person you wanna hire,
Right.
uh, I mean, what are you gonna get out of 3, 4, and 5? So,
Yeah.
anyway, um, so a lot of times, um, as I said, this is, again, my theory,
Hmm.
uh a brown belt or a newly promoted black belt decides to launch their own gym. They go out, they launch it, they, have their capital startup, all that. They get through all of that and they open their doors.
Hmm.
And then they start experiencing the headaches of maybe lack of growth.
Hmm.
And I think it's easy a lot of times to think it's maybe a motivation problem, but it's not, right? That
Yeah.
what you've kind of determined is a process problem.
Hmm.
So kind of two questions here. At what point did you first kind of realize, hey, it's not a motivation thing, right? It is a process thing and they need better processes. And then what was that final nail in the coffin that said, you know what, I got to do something about this and create pack the mat system?
Sure. So I had, after my supply chain stints, I actually had a rash guard company, no longer around. We called ourselves a Polyroid. And if you're wondering what that means, how did I say it? How do I spell it? It's probably why we're not around anymore. Uh, through that, I really learned a lot about digital marketing. I got really good at running advertising on Meta platforms, and I still had this going on when I approached Steve again, owner of my gym, Freedom Jiu Jitsu, and I approached him just because I felt I could help the school grow. We didn't do any kind of advertising. We grew naturally, pretty well organically, but at some point, as a business owner, everybody kind of wants more, and a lot of people don't really know how to go out and get it. So I felt like, hey, I know I have the marketing background. I think I could help get us some more leads in. So I approached him with that, and he was all for it. He just told me, you need to manage the leads that come in. I don't have the time. He has like a separate business. That's his main thing. No problem. We start running ads. They're doing great. In the first 2 weeks, we had like 30 leads from it. So that was awesome. But I always thought like, great, if someone's a lead, they're just gonna sign up magically. But when I started managing them, I was like, oh wait, I gotta talk to these people. I have to reach out to them. So now I'm have all these names and numbers in a spreadsheet, and I'm tracking them, through that, and I'm reaching out to them through my personal phone, and it's a mess. I can't remember which one said they can't come in that day, and it's trying to coordinate all these things and who I need to call still, and it was such a mess. And it was such a shame because I think of that batch of 30 leads, that initial 30, we maybe signed like one person up or two people, which is really upsetting. Upsetting to me because I feel like now I'm letting down Steve in my gym, and upsetting because I'm burning Steve's money now because he's paying for the ads. So I was like, all right, I got to come up with a better solution, and that kind of led me to creating this automated system that can nurture and move leads through our funnel as efficiently as possible without the need for me. And that's when things really change because now we have this internal system that can convert leads at each stage of our process very efficiently, and we can scale it. So it doesn't matter if there's one lead in there or there's 20, it's going to still perform the same. And that's when we really start to experience some like exponential growth.
Right, right. So, I mean, like this was front row. This wasn't just you driving down the road thinking, "Hey, maybe we should do this and help out with this." Like you built this out of necessity and something that you and your gym was struggling with.
Right.
And I think that's probably about the best way to come up with
Yeah.
with a
Right.
new tool or platform.
Uh huh.
Um, let's talk about a little bit why good academies maybe struggle.
Hmm.
And what I would imagine you've had a lot of kind of exploratory calls with
Hmm.
academies, whether they signed up for Pack the Mat system or not. What do you usually find when you first kind of look under the hood that's struggling to grow? Are there some things that stand out? Are there some trends like something you see across the board? This
Hmm.
is absolutely something's going to be in the top three.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say like 9 times out of 10, any owner I speak to, the problem they perceive that they're facing is a lack of leads. Almost everybody says, "I need more leads. I need people in the door." They're just very unaware of the process that they are lacking, and that's a common like kind of pitfall. And what to your point, like why good academies can still struggle is because we always think like, and I was guilty of this too, right? When I wanted to grow, help my gym grow, you just think it's external. You think, oh, I just throw some money behind some ads and, it makes me more students. But that's not the case. And it's a shame because I think a lot of people, especially in like this industry, they kind of fall prey to a bit more of like the predatory agencies out there, the ones that are promising like, 90 students in 90 days or, things like that. And I think when you're stuck for so long, you are frustrated, you kind of become a bit desperate and you're willing to just give your money to anybody to make the problem go away. But it's not an external problem. It's all internal.
Yeah. I there's so many things you see out there on IG now when it comes
Hmm.
to martial art gym growth, and all of it can't work.
Right.
And it seems like all of them promises to fix everything. Um, but uh, you know, uh, you to get new members, you have to have new leads, right? You have to have people,
Sure.
new interest, not just the people you've sent email blasts to or something
Right.
500 times that you've never heard of. In business school, they call it what, creating like blue oceans and new
Yeah.
markets and stuff like that, right? And making sure you cultivate the ones that do come in and they
Hmm.
don't go untouched forever. Do you think a school can be, this is kind of a little bit of a boneheaded question, but
Oh, you're good.
do you think a school can be really good at teaching jujitsu, but just still be bad at building a sustainable business?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not going to throw any of my clients under the bus, but I had
Of
some
course,
that,
yeah, yeah,
that they,
yeah.
they were not where they are, extremely passionate coaches and they have a great culture. They just don't have the business mind or the experience to actually, grow their own gym and get more students in, and that's why it's such an honor for me, I feel, just to be a part of their team in a way. And I say team as in it's just me and them, but it's like, look, you can worry about, you know, teaching and your community and you worry about that. And I'll just worry about the back end stuff. I'll worry about getting more leads from your website, the ads and the system. And, we'll, it's
Do you see an epidemic of, maybe epidemic's not a good choice of words, but or word, like, are gyms closing at a higher rate now than say they were, because you've been doing it a
hmm,
while, like 5 years ago, due to bad business, or are tools like, you know, the pack the mat system and maybe some others helping the issue of bartering up the doors and rolling up the mats? I mean, are we seeing an impact positive, or are we going backwards?
that's a good question. I haven't noticed, I guess, an increase in doors being closed. I do think though that like I say like internal system is what's going to drive your external growth. And it's true. But like what's even more internal than that internal sales system is your gym's identity and its community and like how people feel when they're there. Because it was kind of sad. I had this client for a few years and they recently had to kind of shut down. And it wasn't because they weren't getting enough leads or because their system wasn't, up to par with what's going on. I think it's just because they didn't have a good community. They didn't have people that stayed. And, I only say this because there was a period of time, like for like, I want to say like 5 or 6 weeks in a row, I was getting a call from my client, asking me to update the website schedule because they changed it. And it's like, if you're changing classes every week, like something's not
Right.
working right there. And so it no amount of marketing and money and systems is going to fix like a bad culture. You
No,
know, I- so
I agree.
if you have that culture, like a good culture, then this you just need a system that can get you to that next level. That's what it is. And
Right. I
if you're
think.
no,
Oh
sorry, go on.
no, go ahead. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
I lost it.
Sorry. No, I listen. This is not a question. It's 100%. I agree. If something happens to that culture, and we see I mean, look at what we saw all over IG within the
Yeah.
past few months, right? With
Yeah.
everything going on with some academies. I Some things you just can't get back. Some things a process is not going to fix. You could be processing your leads within 24 hours and signing them to new members,
Yeah.
but if you're losing them as fast as you're signing them, or if it's not, if women or parents feel their kids aren't in a safe environment,
Yeah.
or if the room is full of ego,
Hmm.
and if every class someone's getting their knee blown out. I mean, it's like that stuff
Yeah.
you can't fix. I mean, it's over.
Yeah.
It's over.
It's not a good place. It's not a good
Yeah.
place to be in.
Yeah. And it's when you evaluate who to partner with, and is there a process you follow to make sure that before you partner with someone, you're getting in partnership with someone with a good culture? Because I would imagine it would be a huge waste of your time if you put all this time and effort into partnering with somebody
Mhm.
and 30 days later they shut down because X happened.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, I think sometimes the nature of things. It's hard for me to gauge your culture. I don't think anybody's gonna get on a call with me and say, "Yeah, like my gym kind of sucks." I think I need, you know what I mean? I don't think anybody's gonna say that about their own gym, especially about their own
Yeah,
culture.
I'm under investigation.
Yeah, like we just had a scandal happen. Can you save us? No one's gonna call and say that. But really, I guess what kind of determines it is where they're at in their um I guess business journey. You know, I don't I want to help everybody I can, but I don't think I'm for everybody, like at some point, like it does come down to leads, and if you are super small and like you're getting one lead a month, then like a great sales system isn't really going to do much for you. Hopefully you have the time to manage that one lead. But my point is that, I like to identify if a gym is getting, 8 to 16, maybe even 20 leads a month organically through their site. And it's like, okay, well, how much are you converting? You know, how many people are booking or showing up to the class? And they're like, I have no idea. Then it's like, okay, I think we're going to be a good fit because I'm going to give you that process and that structure to start turning those leads into students.
Right. I could 100% see your point. Again, there's just some things that they have to do, right?
Yeah.
And have to exist
Yeah.
and be in place for anything to kind of work or help them. You know, I would imagine, and I saw this firsthand with one of the gyms that I trained with. Do you see a lot of manual processes going on at gyms when you go into them these days?
It's either a manual process or no process. I mean, like
Yeah, like
before.
Excel spreadsheets. I look at it as a very manual process.
Yeah, and before that Excel spreadsheet, I'm talking about my days when I was doing that. There was no process, and I think that's the case for a lot of people. Unfortunately, I say unfortunately that people are busy, and a lot of these owners, it's kind of their second gig. They want it to be their main time thing, and they want to get bigger, but they just don't have the time to really either learn how to do it or manage it themselves effectively. And they just rely on kind of luck, or just they move at their own pace. And it's like in today's world and day and age, everything's happening so fast, and it's like if it's going to take you a day to respond to somebody who filled out your trial form, they might have already scheduled a class with somebody else in your town because they're on top of it and they hit them up in the first, minute that they submitted that form, and they got the conversation moving. And it's like, that's really where the business competitive edge comes into play for jiu-jitsu gyms, is like how effectively and quickly can you manage your leads.
Right, right. I I wonder if it's a generational thing too, because some that start martial arts gyms are older, right?
Hmm.
I don't think the bulk of them are. I think it's more of a younger or midlife kind of
Yeah.
career move. But I know some will probably either they don't understand automation or they don't see the value Is that something that you see when you come in and maybe it's an older client, generationally, that
Yeah.
you have to maybe do a little more hand holding or convincing?
I think the biggest, I guess, reluctancy that they have with that kind of automation or just maybe marketing in general, is that they're afraid that by implementing a tool like that or implementing a marketing strategy that it's somehow going to take away from what they've built, like the community they've built. Like they're almost selling out their gym to get bigger. You know what I mean? And it's so not the case because you know no one's going to learn jujitsu from an automated system. No one's going to go down to your class and look at a screen and start practicing moves, right? But like those automated tools, like can give you like your time back. And not only that, it's going to grow your business for you. So it's like, to me, it's like, it's a no brainer. And like when people like, kind of throw up that wall, like, oh, I don't want to sell out. It's like, I don't understand how. Like, you're going to get more people in your room experiencing your community. Like, it's not teaching them jujitsu. So, it is a different, kind of person I talk to in that age range. I do find that the younger owners are much more receptive and even aware of to like the tools out there. They're just looking for the right one.
Yeah, I would imagine though after the conversation, they see the value in something like, pack the mats.
Mhm.
It is a no-brainer, kind of just as you say, it's once you're able to explain. I know one thing that we worry about in talent acquisition,
Mhm.
and recruiting is like AI is dominating right now. I mean, there's so much AI going on and
Oh
bot
yeah.
generation, especially when it comes to for us, a lead is a new candidate, right? An
Mhm.
applicant. But sometimes there's this debate of, well, it takes away the personal aspect of it, and I'm on the fence with that. I don't necessarily think it does. I think
Mhm.
AI does a good job sometimes of creating personal messages, as long as it's not like a story that you're
Yeah,
emailing.
right.
But what are your thoughts around uh, automating, especially like a lead generation tool, like where that reach out is automated? Do you think that it takes some of the personal experience away, or no? I personally don't think it would, but what are your thoughts on that?
So are you asking like, do I think AI outreach takes it away or like
Well, I
AI
think just maybe
tools?
automation in general,
Okay.
right? Yeah, automation in general. Do you think it impacts negatively that new lead experience?
No, not at all. I think it really enhances the customer journey because it is so it happens in such real time. Like for my system, anytime a lead has to like interface with I guess it would be a person typically, right? That's where I have AI involved so that it can communicate with the lead. And it's the messages it creates are great. They can be personable, they can be friendly, funny, whatever. But it's really not even that. It's just the fact that they can get answers um right now. They don't have to wait. You know, there's no friction anymore for them. If they need something answered, they need to know something. They need the booking link again. They need to know your address or the class times or the price or whatever. Like AI can give that to them. Like that, and I think that is the biggest advantage. And that doesn't take away um, any kind of personalized experience or any kind of, you know, sell out or salesy approach. It's just like, hey, this is just a better experience for somebody right now.
I would agree 100%. And I believe, so we hear the term or the phrase time kills all deals. Well,
Hmm.
I also think time kills all interest. And we talked a
Yeah,
little bit about that when we used the scenario or analogy of recruiting and hiring. At some point, you just get burnt out and tired,
hmm,
or worse, if you don't hear anything back at all. I've
yeah,
applied now for probably over 100 jobs, and I think a month and a half ago, because I'm being a little selective. A
sure,
month and a half ago, 2 days ago, I got one of the auto emails, or maybe it was an auto email. I don't know. We couldn't tell, but like it was 6 weeks ago. Like I'm
yeah,
not even thinking about that. I'm not even
yeah,
thinking about that anymore. If it was 6 weeks before someone from Strike Force Gym, hope that's
right,
not a
right,
client of yours, messaged
yeah,
me
right.
back. I just went with the craziest name I could think of.
No, I was good.
Um, Uh, even I wouldn't even be thinking about jujitsu. I wouldn't have followed up. I wouldn't be like, "What are you talking about?" I may not even remember it. So,
And 6 weeks
I
is like a big, I know you're like exaggerating it, but like
yeah,
it happens like you could wait like 8 hours and people
yeah,
already forget. They're already moving on.
yeah,
It's happening so fast, and there's just no way to keep up with it. As a
yeah.
human, that's the biggest bottleneck is your time.
And for some people, it could be a real kind of like pushing themselves to reach out to a gym
Yeah.
and go do something like this, right? Like
Hmm.
they've never done a physical sport or
Oh
something.
yeah,
So yeah, time is of the essence, right?
definitely.
Do you think there's anything that shouldn't be automated? I mean,
Yeah.
obviously in jujitsu we know technique and things like that, but maybe anything outside of technique.
Yeah.
Can you
No.
think of anything?
Of
Yeah.
course. And I tell this to all my calls, all my clients, personally, I don't like to automate or use AI for that last, 20% of your funnel. The top 20%, like, yeah, let's answer the leads questions. Let's give them a time to come in, send them reminders, right? That all can be automated. That's because that's a lot of like heavy lifting and there's not it's kind of low return on investment. When you have somebody that has come in, has tried your class, they just didn't pull the trigger right then and there. Now it's like this is who you should be focusing your energy on personally, right? You shouldn't have AI selling to somebody when you or your staff have met them, when you now have seen their face, when you've kind of seen them in your room. Like you shouldn't have this software selling to them. Now it's up to you. Now you got to give them a call. And that's what, I think makes the system so good is because it's a good blend of like, hey, this is going to take care of the dirty work, the annoying stuff. And then this is who you should focus on. This is who you want to focus on.
Yeah, so it sounds like that coaches need to understand even when they use these tools, or owners need to understand even when they use these tools and automations, like they still own the success of them, right? They're
Yes.
not. There's nothing that's going to come in and fix everything,
Right.
because they can pay for the platforms and dump all this money into advertising, but if they're not putting in the work, they're not going to get the maximum ROI.
Correct. Correct. And,
Yeah,
I think some of the clients I've had in the past have expected that, have expected this system just to literally do everything. I can think of one off the top of my head. Remember him calling me up. This is like only a month after, into his our relationship. He's like, "Oh, it's not working." I'm like, "Oh, like have you been in? Have you logged in and like, done the, move them around?" He's like, "No." I was like, "Okay, well, you should do that and then tell me if it's not working." Like, that's it's still like up to you or your staff to a degree, but like this is just going to make it as easy as possible to put someone on the mat, and then it's up to you to sign it up and get it
yeah.
going.
Yeah, and I would hope that most coaches understand that. And I'm sure it's something in your process and your sales process that you make sure you communicate. I want us to take some time here and talk about conversion and traffic, because I know
Sure.
that's your passion. That's what the Pack the Mat system is about.
Hmm.
Is not only taking these leads that come in and putting them through a process that works.
Hmm.
That's proof of concept is founded, it's working. So I want to talk a little bit about this. A lot of times I think people put the horse before the cart in business and in gym ownership, and they just want to dump money into advertising, and just they feel like the more money they dump into advertising the better. But what is why would you recommend fixing the conversion process, like having a good process
Hmm.
in place before pouring money into advertising? Because it seems like if you get 100 people in, what do you do with them, right?
Right. Yeah. No. Great question. So this is kind of what I like will say on my calls if they bring that up, or if I'm trying to maybe educate somebody on why the conversion's important. Let's say you want to add 10 students this month. If my conversion rate is 10%, I need 100 leads to do that. 100 leads. That's a ton of leads. But if my conversion rate is 20%, that's only twice as good. 20%, I need half that amount of leads. I need 50. So it's such an exponential increase in, 20% is still like a relatively low conversion. It's still pretty good. It could be, but you're going from 100 leads to 50. If you're paying, you know, $10 a lead, that's $500 you just saved
Right.
just from having a conversion process that's twice as good.
Yeah. I and people don't think like that, I think, as owners, and I get it, right? They don't understand yield ratios and
Yeah,
funnels
no, totally.
and stuff like that, right? I think it's important for anyone who is in the, gym growth software business. This is becoming an industry, I think. Man, it's crazy. I don't even know how to define it. I think it's really cool though, but um to be able to communicate that, because I think it also goes back to what we were just talking about in inspiring them and encouraging them to do their part. If they know their numbers, if they know, okay, I have to do 100 because I'm only going to get 10%, or right now I need 200 because I'm only getting 5%.
Yeah.
And I think it also shows the impact of the platform
Hmm.
as those yield ratios go up and down and get better for them, right?
Hmm.
So, um, is there and again, this is around the lead processing uh, kind of platform, what we're talking about here. Is there a place where you see students disappear the most, like in the process, where they fall out? Is it from
Yes.
they just don't get contacted, or they get contacted and
So not getting contacted is the really, biggest killer, right? That's a kind of a given. But let's say you go through the work, you talk to them, you find a time for them to come in and you schedule them, right? But then nothing happens between that scheduling and their trial date. That's actually the biggest area that I see people falling out of in sort of a missed opportunity. And again, I know that because I experienced it when I was doing everything from a spreadsheet. I would go through all the work, all the back and forth, and finally getting somebody to say, "Yeah, that's a good time. I'll come in then." And then I stopped, and then they forget or just whatever. Life happens. They lose interest. Who knows? And then, you don't have anybody coming in when they're supposed to. And the biggest, opportunity there is just having automated appointment reminders and not just including the date and time, but including information that's almost, what I think is at least like vital to their experience. Like, what do they need to know? Like, where are you located? What should I bring? How long is the class? And then what can I expect? So you're giving them, in a way, you're giving them value, you're setting expectations, and you're answering any possible question that might stop them from coming in. You said it earlier, like it's a hard sport to get into. It's hard to take that first step. And just submitting the form is a step in itself, internally for them. So people kind of will look for excuses when they're doing something outside their comfort zone. So if they don't know where to go or what to bring or, what to expect, that's going to push them away, maybe consciously or unconsciously. So that's a really big area I see that um, student, or I should say leads are kind of falling out of.
yeah, I really like that that layer you add to um the automation and sending that out, like what to bring, what to wear.
Mhm.
And I think it's even an opportunity for owners and for gyms to stand out from others, right? You can
Sure.
put fun messages in there about your community. You can include videos. You can do all
Yeah.
this stuff, right? Like it shouldn't just be, "Hey, looking forward to seeing you." High five emoji.
Yeah. Right. Like there's
Like, what does that tell anybody?
nothing.
And
Yeah.
I mean, I can't remember. Well, I don't necessarily know if I was invited. No, I went through. My son was signed up, but I could imagine if, like today, if I was googling jujitsu gyms near me and wanting to reach out. I'm pretty sure I could go to one. I would fill out the form. Maybe 2 days later, I would get an auto email saying, "Hey, thanks, and
Mhm.
here's our schedule," and that's
Right.
it. Right, and I think that's what a lot of gyms do.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but to have some kind of personalized message, right? And give them the information that they need, have them motivated, like sell before you even get them in the door, man, for
Sure.
the trial class. That's
Yeah.
your opportunity. I love
Yeah.
that.
No, yeah, get them
Yeah.
excited to come.
So so let's talk a little bit about, and you probably got a lot of opinions about this, I would imagine.
I'm excited.
um about like what is the role of a website? Because I think
Mm.
some gyms do great with their website, and I think some do terrible, man.
Oh yeah.
And I look at it through I hate to do it, but I look at it through my marketing and kinda recruiting, like, background and business
Sure.
background every time I look at a website. And, I don't think there's a perfect template, but there is a template for success. So,
Sure.
what do you think the job of a academy's or school's website is? What do you think
Ulti-
the overall job is?
yeah, yeah. I mean, ultimately, like personally, like what I think it's to convert your traffic into a lead. And we don't just want any bit of traffic coming in to be a lead. It has to be able to qualify them in some way. So the way I like to do that is, the conversion I guess I push for is the free class trial, or some people do the free week trial. Um, Whatever your kind of initial offer is, that's what should be the clearest thing on the website. Is at any point I could see a button, or I could see the direction I need to go to take the next step.
Right.
Now when that happens and the form pops up, that's where you want to qualify some people. You want to do your qualification a bit more. And what I mean by that is you don't just want name, number, phone, email, because all that stuff can be auto-filled by Google or any of the search engines. And why I think that's bad is because I want people signing up with intention, right? If it's just made easy for me, I'm not really that intent about it. It's easier than me having to type it out. So I like to include a few extra questions on my form, like how did you hear about us? What are your goals? How many, have you done anything like this before? You have an experience. So they're simple enough questions, but it's still going to engage them, and they still have to actually type in an answer. Those things can't be autofilled. And just that alone will deter your bad leads or your low quality leads. And that's because the system is great, right? But if you put crappy leads in it, you're going to get crappy results. So how do we make sure we don't do that? How do we get the best lead possible? And that's where the website comes in. It's convert the traffic and qualify it.
Yeah. Yeah, track, convert, I would agree. Some websites I see, it's just like the logo, the phone number, what have you. Like, if you
Yeah.
there's a website out there that I think does pretty good of pooling the jujitsu academies out there.
Hmm.
It's like my jujitsu academy or jujitsu academy director. So I can't remember. I got a bookmark. I can't even remember what it is. But anyway, um, I was pulling a spreadsheet. Now I wanted to have all the gyms around because I traveled a lot back a few jobs ago, and I always wanted something on there.
Yeah.
But I would when I would look for a gym, I would go to their website,
Hmm.
and I think having pictures and images of your site, but I would look at the sign up, right? And if there a way to ask questions? Is
Hmm.
there, well, maybe not sign up, maybe that's not a good description of what I'm saying. Is there a way that I can engage and get answers without having to leave voicemails and
Yes.
wait for callbacks and stuff like that, right?
Hmm.
And very few have it, especially the non-franchises and even the big franchises.
Hmm.
Your Gracie Barras, I mean, like some
Yeah.
of these just they don't have it and they're huge.
Yeah.
And they're in, I mean, they shouldn't by name, you would think, have lead generation issue, but you don't know,
Yeah.
right? Because sometimes the websites talking about the lineage and the attractions there, but like, how can we engage, right?
No,
How
no,
can
I'm
we?
I'm laughing just because I know what you're saying. I agree
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to hear about the championships and stuff, and that's awesome. But like,
Hmm.
I don't know anything about martial art. I don't know who Hoist Gracie. I mean, I do, but
Right.
like the
Yeah.
average person's not going to know who Hoist Gracie is, right?
Yeah.
Or, uh, you know, um, so no, it's awesome. I really wanted us to spend some time in talking about
Sure.
like the website and the importance, and before because I want to leave some time here for you to kind of share a good overview of Pack the Mat system
Hmm.
and how it can help academy owners and listeners. Because we have a lot of academy owners and coaches out there that are part of the community, and we're super excited to have them as part of the community. And an episode like this, I definitely want it to help with their growth. But again before that. So, do you think? I don't want to position this question. Do you think that kind of the mom and pop jujitsu academies need more help than some of the bigger, larger, maybe franchises? And I say mom and pop, and
Hmm.
no disrespect, but just kind of because, like, out of the 42,000 global
Yeah.
jujitsu gyms, like over half of them or 60% of them are non-franchise. It's a
Yeah. Big.
fragmented
That's a big
market.
number.
Yeah, it's a huge fragmented market that it is, right?
Hmm.
So, like, what are your thoughts? I mean, for someone like yourself, is there a certain academy profile that you target? What are your thoughts on that?
So personally, like from my experience and clients and discovery calls, it mom and pop or franchise, nobody, very few people do it right. And they both need just as much help. I have several franchise clients, all from the same one, and I help them overcome the same problem, right? Growth, because they all lack the system. And the franchise is just a name. And again, I guess, it's a draw because if someone like you're traveling around, like you see, an Alliance or a Gracie, you're maybe a bit more inclined because you're, involved in the jiu-jitsu community. So you kind of know what to expect by going there. You're like, oh, maybe I'll try out that franchise because I've heard it, seen it, right? But like at the end of the day, again, it's just somebody who's never done it looking to get involved. So your name doesn't really mean anything to them. It's just how do you process them? How do you nurture them and get them to the mat? And I feel like regardless of franchise or mom and pop, everybody struggles with that.
Yeah, so you see it as a across the board problem,
Yeah,
not that, hey, they're big, you know, their big brother, they figured it out, right?
right.
No one's figured it out, you're saying. Yeah.
I mean,
Um,
there's definitely some out there, and there are some
yeah.
people in the space that have the same mindset and kind of philosophy that I do. And it's encouraging to see that's starting to become the focal point. Like, hey, like what is actually going to make a gym successful and grow? And that's a really good thing that's starting to come about. But it's still like, you know, there's still so many gyms that are unaware.
You know, a question came to mind when when you were answering the last question. Um, let's talk about drop-ins, right? Like
Yeah.
someone who's visiting a gym. Is there a responsibility to that gym owner or that gym to have a process to manage drop-ins and the follow-up and kind of keep in touch? And
Mm.
I dropped in when I was in Vegas to a Cabrina gym.
Hmm.
I think I'm saying that right. And I still get some emails. Hey, can't wait till you're back in Vegas to see us again.
Oh,
You
that's
know, if
awesome.
you're in the area, we'd love to have you come train with us. And I know they're automated. I get
Yeah.
that, but they feel
Good.
personal, and it keeps them on my mind. And there's another, I think it's a top team, American top team gym that I visited when I was in South Georgia. Does something similar because I signed up. They
Yeah.
had me sign up for their emails when I sent the email message or whatever on the website. Like,
Hmm.
do you think that there's a responsibility there, and is there a process that they need to be thinking about?
I mean, personally, I've never looked at it like that. I've always processed drop-ins the same as just anybody looking to kind of come in and sign up. But
Yeah,
I think that's awesome. That what gym was it in Las Vegas? You said it was the 10th
it was a
Planet.
Cabrera.
Oh,
It was an
Cabria.
alliance. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I gotta look at it. I got it in my emails, but yeah, it was, and like they have a whole like it's a separate workflow. You can tell it's
Yeah.
a
No,
separate
definitely. It
workflow
sounds
because
like it.
it's using language of, hey, I know you don't live here. I know you just visited, but like,
Come back
yeah,
soon.
I'll actually send you that email so you can see it,
Yeah,
man,
that's
because it's
that's
really
awesome.
cool. It's really cool.
No, that's
Um,
that's really great that they're doing that. That's something I've never even really considered. Um, and just kind of thinking off the top of my head now, it's probably somewhere like that, like a high, kind of destination area, it's probably good that they have that. I think maybe more local mom and pop ones, or just even, if you're not in like a destination area, like it's probably not like, it's probably very, very niche is what I'm trying to say. Like it's
Like, I'm not going back to Eugene, Oregon and
right.
train probably
Yeah.
ever, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like
But you might be
Vegas,
back
there's
in
a high
Vegas
chance I may
again.
go back to,
Right.
right?
Right. So,
Like what Master Worlds is there, right? Every
right.
year. So
So that's
yeah.
actually really sharp on their part that they're doing
That's a
something
good
like
point,
that.
man. I
Yeah.
didn't make that connection.
That's
That's a
actually really
good
cool they
point.
do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. No, I just it came to my head and I thought that because I know I've dropped into a lot, probably more than I could count.
Mhm.
I thought about doing this like passport book, like getting it
Oh,
created,
that's
and
cool.
but then I stopped traveling. So
Uh,
I'm kind of glad. I mean, I was getting burnt out.
yeah,
My
it's
kids are
tough.
getting older, but no,
Flying sucks too.
God, man, especially these days.
Uh,
And then, and like, I don't know, did you see recently what happened here in Atlanta? Um, with all the God, there was a big shutdown, but Atlanta took it the hardest. I mean, it took days to get,
no, what
or like
happened?
a couple weeks. It was something. It was some kind of system. I don't know, with Delta, some kind of
Mm,
system shutdown or error, or something like that. But it took like weeks to get over. And
wow.
then, I mean, flying's just become crazy, dude.
So crazy.
Crazy.
So crazy.
Yeah. No, man, I know. So I know we're getting here at the top of the hour, but what I would love for you to do, Michael, is share a little, kind of an overview of what Pack the Mat system is, high level, and how it can specifically help that gym owner who's struggling with processing leads. Maybe it's just them and they're experiencing growth. Maybe they need a tool to help them manage, or maybe they're not getting anything.
Yeah. So high level overview, it's a holistic growth system, meaning it is all connected and it's really built off of what we've primarily talked about on this episode is that internal sales system, right? You have a lead, you nurture them, you turn them into a new student, and then from that, two things happen. So when you get a new student, a new member, two things are going to happen. One, you're going to increase your awareness. So you get more awareness, meaning you get more referrals, meaning more traffic to your website. And then that's going to generate you leads. And then when you also get more students, you get more money, which allows you to have fun things like an advertising budget. So now you're running ad campaigns, and the ad campaigns generate you leads, and then it feeds back into the nurture system. So it's just a really simple, connected process that just feeds itself.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I was excited when you shared kind of a demo with me. I thought it was super super cool. I know if I was a gym owner, it would absolutely be part of my automations part. Right. I
Mhm.
is Pack the Mat system kind of a standalone platform? Does it integrate with anything? Is it like a? Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, no, it
Yeah.
is a it's a web platform, but it can integrate with any kind of billing system you have. It
Got it.
integrates very well with any uh, pre-existing websites. Very simple, and it integrates super well with your socials and your advertising platform. So, Meta
Awesome.
ads, you just hook it up, and it feeds the leads you generate right into the system.
Dude, I saw something, a meme or something that says, "Our system's so awesome it integrates with MySpace." I was like, "What, dude?" It was a joke. It took me a few minutes. It was like but oh my god, man! You remember
so
MySpace?
No,
God,
that
that
was
was
like
crazy,
right before. I never used it. I used AIM a lot or AOL, whatever that
dude.
was.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, no. If you could give, as we kind of get here to the close, if you could give one piece of advice to academy owners struggling with enrollment,
Mhm.
what would it be?
So I guess really practical, tactical advice that anybody could do, whether you're struggling or not, is if you've been around for any amount of time, you probably have a list of people that filled out your form and you never signed them up, whether they came in or not, right? You probably have a stack of that laying around somewhere. Go back to that, create like a specific, offer for them and start reaching out to them. Those are, leads just waiting to be reactivated. And it's a great way to get some more students in your mats, on your mats. And it's a great way to just, everybody wants more leads. Well, you already have leads. Don't be afraid to go back to them. It's not going to cost you anything. And it's a really, really easy way to just get a few signups, maybe even a dozen or whatever. Um, and that's just one of my favorite things. Every 6 months, I'll just go through and just hit up all my cold leads again, just with a little
Yeah.
offer.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's like sales 101, right?
Right.
Lead unless they told you not to contact them, and
Yeah.
DNC,
Yeah.
they're always the lead.
Always.
Always. That's the way I see it. It's always an active candidate if they've never told me never to call them again. And
There you go.
I've had some of those, man.
That's awesome.
Um, no, Michael, how can people learn more about you, resources? How can a gym owner who's listening to this, right? Or somebody who just wants to learn more about what you're doing, kind of get resources and in contact with you regarding Pack the Mat?
Sure. So if anything we've talked about today really resonated with you, you can find me over at morestudentslesswork.com. I have a blog where I will post and share a lot of what we talked about today, a little bit more tactical on how to actually implement it. I also have a YouTube channel. It's the same as all my socials. It's Michael Spyrou. You can find me on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram with that. Or if you think you're ready to take the next step, I do offer a free 30-day trial of the system. And again, that's over at morestudentslesswork.com.
Mm. Well, Michael, thank you so much for joining me this evening. I know we're doing this a little late at night, which is always a fun time to do it. I appreciate everything that you're doing to help gyms grow. I think what you developed is something that, you know, gym owners need to utilize, right? And,
Hmm.
and really help them convert those leads. So, for those of you listening out there who are interested in reaching out to Michael, all of his information that he just shared will be in the show notes. And thanks for joining us. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, and until next time, remember, always keep your passion brewing.